Welcome back to the Hollywood Dreammaker podcast. I'm your host, Billy Gallo, and today I'm recording my 78th episode. So first, I want to thank all you listeners out there. You know, it's been amazing. You know, during the pandemic, I decided to create this podcast. I didn't know anything about podcasts. I just knew I wanted to share my voice. My studio, my Manhattan Actors Studio was closed to the public because of the pandemic. And I was like, how do I share what I teach here at the studio with the doors closed? And the podcast idea came up and I created it. And it's one of the top 2% of all podcasts globally. I'm really proud to say that I have 78 episodes. I've had amazing guests, Academy Award winners, Golden Globe winners, Emmy Award winners, you name it. I've had them on my podcast. I have some great guests coming. But today I want to record a solo podcast because I currently got cast in a TV show called General Hospital. And I want to tell you how this all came about. You know, when I opened up the school 8 years ago, I told my agents that I didn't want to be submitted for anything because I did not have time. I was very busy here at the studio and I found my true passion, teaching the craft of acting and being the guide. And for me, it's been so rewarding. As an actor, when I was, booking TV shows and doing movies and stuff like that, yeah, I was living the dream. And I've done it for many, many years. I mean, I came out in 1984 and, I've been a working actor ever since. And, I was doing it kind of maybe for the wrong reasons. It was, about proving people wrong. There was an ego thing, it was about needing to be loved, and you get the fame and you get the success and stuff like that, and you realize that the acting doesn't fill that hole. And for me, something was missing, and I found it when I found teaching the craft and helping others achieve the dream. That's why I opened up my school, and that's why I created the Hollywood Dreammaker podcast. I don't do this podcast to make money. It's really about me giving back. It's me leaving this behind for you, the listener out there. So I'm really grateful to you listeners out there for tuning in and listening, and if you haven't, please go to YouTube and type up Inside the Manhattan Actors Studio and subscribe to that. It's the video element of the podcast, and there's also a peek inside my classes. So about, I think it was February, or actually in January, I wrote a list of my goals, and I do that with my actors every year. We sit down, we create vision boards, and we write down a list of goals that you want to achieve and action steps to make those goals a reality. So if you haven't listened to that podcast, you want to check it out. It's really creating your life map. Whatever you want in life, you can achieve. You just have to really see it and really go after it like you mean it, with a vengeance, and don't let anything stop you. So my New Year's resolutions for 2023 were pretty simple. I said, one, I wrote down, I'd like to get back in front of the camera. And I said, I want to produce my film. I wanted to write my book. And I wanted to stop drinking and get in good shape. And, when I look at my goals now, we're in April now, and all of those goals are coming to fruition. One, I am on General Hospital right now, and it came about I was filming my digital course, which is going to be released real soon, but I was doing the episode where I'm teaching actors how to self-tape, and I've had a lot of success with self-tapes. I've been doing self-tapes before self-tapes were even a thing, way back, before there was any self-tapes. I would put myself on tape for projects that they wouldn't let me in the door, and I would get that audition and I would get the part. I mean, there was a time I was doing NYPD Blue, and I had a huge guest starring role on the show, and I played a son of a mafia boss who was a psychopathic killer, and I killed a bunch, and I was gay, and I killed a bunch of people. And shortly after, I found out they were casting another character on the show, which was a guest starring role. And this guy was a completely different character. His name was Romeo Rodriguez, and he was a a Puerto Rican ex-con that came out of Rikers Island, and he was suicidal, and it was just a meaty role, and I wanted in on it. A friend of mine had auditioned for it, and I read the material. So I asked to get in on it, and they wouldn't let me in. So a friend of mine had a camera, and I decided to shoot it and send it over to casting. Well, casting loved my self-tape. They brought me in, and I got that part. And, usually a primetime TV show like NYPD Blue, they usually don't let the same actor on to play a different character because, the fans are like, wait a second, isn't that the same guy? But I proved to them that I can play another character, and I didn't even look like, the two characters completely different. One had an accent, and they were both like, if they met each other on the street, they'd probably kill each other. But, I've been doing self-tapes before self-tapes were a thing. And so I was filming a course on how to self-tape, talking about framing, talking about lighting, talking about, the proper sound, wardrobe, hair, makeup. You pretty much have to become a little movie producer. And I believe that's how you outwork, outprep, outchoice the other actors auditioning, because casting are getting bombarded now with self-tapes, and a lot of them are really bad self-tapes. The wrinkled curtain, the actor with the sides in the hand, poorly lit, bad sound. They're skipping through those. Skip, boring, next, till they hit one that they go, wait a second, there's something special about this. You could see the effort. If I'm playing a serial killer, I don't want to have a blue background or a purple background. I want something real, a gray wall. I want to be in the wardrobe of the character. I want to have the hair, everything. I want to serve it up so they see it and they go, oh my gosh, that's the character. So while I was filming that, my agent called me up, and I haven't heard from my agent in a long time because I pretty much told him I'm not, interested in doing anything. I don't have time. I'm booked solid here at the Manhattan Actor Studio, and I don't have time to audition. But, he called me, he said, you really should go in on this thing. It's for General Hospital. And I was like, yeah, nah, listen, I did General Hospital 20 years ago. I had a recurring character. I played Sammy Tagliani on it. I played a mobster that was coming into Port Charles, trying to take over Sonny Corinthos's territory. And I had a nice role on the show, and, been there, done that, got the t-shirt to prove it, got the IMDb credit. And I was not really interested, but he said, it's like a 3-month run. You should do it. You should. And I didn't really want to do it, but I said, you know what? Since I was doing this self-tape course, I said, let me use it as, an example. So I recorded it as I was doing the self-tape. I recorded it, and I think we did 2 or 3 takes from it. And I explained during the class on how to frame and how to light and all the good stuff. And I sent it out. And then my agent literally called me the next day and said, hey, they want to offer you the role. And at first I was like, I don't think I want to do this. It was really going to cost me money. I mean, I'd have to cancel, right here at the Manhattan Actor Studio is just me. And I'd have to cancel my days and my classes. And it just didn't make sense to me business wise. And I've been there, done that or whatever. But I said, you know what, let me do it. And when I auditioned for it, there was a good scene. It was a really meaty scene. And I was excited to play that character, to play that scene. Well, what happens is I decide to do it, and I show up to Hollywood, and I show up to Prospect Studios. And, the scene that I originally auditioned for, that was nowhere to be seen. Now they had me standing around. I'm playing the henchman of the villain, the main character on the show, and they had me really kind of as a glorified extra standing around, looking tough. And at first it was like, what am I doing here? My ego, whatever. I don't know what it was, but I was really starting to question my choice, why I did this. And then they started writing me in and writing me, a couple of scenes, a character might come in. And what I found and the reason why I'm doing this podcast is I want you actors out there to know the process of what it feels like to do a show like this. General Hospital 1 has been on for 60 years. I feel blessed that I've been a part of that tradition, and that they actually brought me back to play a completely different character. My last character got shot and killed. And now I'm playing a new character on a show called Watkins. You can tune into Hulu and watch me on General Hospital. But they started introducing my character gradually, and then I found that things have changed drastically because of the pandemic. Because I remember 20 years ago, working on the show was a lot of fun. There was the actors would, this is before the pandemic, so there was no mask, and the actors would rehearse together, and we'd get to do it a few times, and there was just, it was playtime, it was fun. And now working on the show, I guess because of the pandemic, there's still the mask in place, so you have to wear your mask all day long. And you have your little dressing rooms, which are, I don't want to talk shit, but they're like little hole in the wall, like little jail cells. And you're sitting in there and you're waiting for, announcement to come over the speaker saying, we need you on stage. We're shooting, scene number 56, and you have to go up to stage with your mask on. And you really don't get a chance to rehearse. I mean, there is no rehearsal process. You may go through a quick blocking, and then you take your mask off and you shoot it. And they go 5, 4, 3, 2, and it's like one take. I mean, before, I think they would do an episode in a day, but now they're doing 3 in a day, and I think they're overloaded with work, and they're just trying to get these episodes out. So the fun was gone for me, and I started feeling the pressure of it, and I started getting in my head. And I always tell my actors, when you're in your head, you're dead. When you're in your heart, you're smart. When you're in play, but I haven't been doing any acting in front of the camera. I mean, I'm acting all day long here with my students. I'm their scene partners and I'm directing, but I haven't been in front of the camera in a while. So that little voice in your head, that little fear, that doubtful voice starts to creep in, and you got to be really careful to guard the gates of your mind and not let that noise come in. I showed up to set, and the stage manager pretty much said, listen, you better know your lines, because this is a moving train here. And, you don't want to be the guy stalling the train. You're out if you're stalling the train. So when you get that, and, the other actors you're working with, are in their masks. I mean, there was no really, not warm and fuzzy. You start getting in your head, and you're waiting backstage for your cue, and you're thinking, uh-oh, I better not forget my line because I'm going to get fired. And, so it's really easy to start getting into your head. And I literally had to check myself and go, listen, Billy, stay out of your head, stay in your heart, and play. And, don't try, don't try to do too much. I mean, I teach my actors all loaded up, previous circumstance, ticking clock, sensory conditions, this, that, and all of this stuff. But, when you're working on a show like this, it's just literally say the words, say the lines, and don't act, and just be real and listen. And that's what I did on the show, is just really kept it really simple. And, apparently they were very happy with my work on the show. But, it was, I had to get out of my own way. And a couple of ways I did that was, when I was sitting in that dressing room, when my little voice started creeping in my head, and, little Billy, and, fear and doubt and whatever, I had to train myself to get out of that little voice and step into my power, step into the guy that I train every morning, the beast, the gladiator, the warrior, the one that's not, not the warrior that steps up. I train them on a daily basis. First thing in the morning is I take a cold shower. And I step in there and I tell myself, I affirm who I am. I'm the little Billy doesn't want to get in there. He wants a hot shower. I go, no. We're not listening to you. The beast loves cold water. And I've been training that beast to show up. So when I got to my dressing room, as soon as I took off my Billy's clothes and I stepped into the wardrobe of the character, then I got to free myself up, because it wasn't Billy. I was no longer Billy. I was Watkins. And that's what I want you actors out to do out there is I want you to remember it's not you. So remember, just if you create a character and you know who your character is, and once you step into the shoes of the character and the way the character moves, I decided my character was a Black Panther. So they describe them as an ominous character, in the background. So I, started looking at Black Panther videos and I found some behavior. And then I talked to the wardrobe lady and I said, I wanted it to be dressed all in black. And I did my backstory for my character. And I know, I knew everything there is to know about my character. So when I stepped into the character, it was no longer me and the noise went away. Okay. So that's how you free yourself of the noise. You step into the shoes of your character and you become the character and you're present in the moment, you're listening, because some of these actors, and I gotta give a big shout out to some of these actors. I mean, some of the actors that I work with on General Hospital are some of the most talented actors because I mean, I'm watching them do pages and pages of monologues and literally being able to get it on one take and move on. And sometimes I would watch the actor that I was working with, they'd hand him some new pages and he never even seen them. But by the time we got to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, he knew his lines. Some of the actors would be able to turn those tears on in a moment's notice. I'm talking to them and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and the tears are rolling down their face, man. So these actors are very well trained. They're literally working their craft on a daily basis. When I was producing a film in 2000 in New York City called Kings of Brooklyn, I was looking at cast and I was holding auditions in New York City. And I cast a couple of actors that were on soap operas because they were the best actors that came into the room. They were the most prepared. So, the biggest takeaway I learned working on the soap opera was it's all about preparation. You have to be prepared. You have to know your lines. You cannot be searching for your lines. Okay. So that means doing the work. Well, how do you learn your lines? Well, you write them down, right? You write them down. I believe when you write them down, you invite them into your brain. When you write them, you invite them into your brain. Just going over them and doing the work, making the choices, but really knowing the work. So you're not worried about the lines. Because if you don't know your lines and they go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and there's cameras, 4 cameras on you, and there's a bunch of crew and there's a bunch of people watching you, and you're really worried about remembering your line, you're in trouble. So, really you want to be prepared. Okay. And that starts now. Okay. Before you get cast on a show, you guys, you should be in class. You should be working on your craft. You should be, if you can't afford to be in class, you should be going online, finding a monologue and working on it and filming it yourself, working on your self-tapes, because that's how you're going to work as an actor. So you don't want to be the actor that I only act when I get the audition. That's not going to work. Okay. You want to be the actor that's constantly training every day. Find something, a piece of material that you can work on. Read Shakespeare, read poems, whatever it may be. Try to memorize a piece. Start training yourself to be able to pick up a piece every day and memorize it. Because when you get on a show like that, you have to be able to pick up that material, know your lines, and be able to deliver. And like I said, if you can't deliver, they're going to find somebody else who can. Okay. So there's there's a lot that goes into, working on a show like that. People see these shows and, they're fans. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, now being on the show, I was kind of downplaying the fact that I was on General Hospital. I was like, oh, I'm on a soap opera, that was maybe my ego going, I don't know what it was, but I was downplaying. I didn't even tell anybody that I was on the soap opera. And then I realized I'm on a show that's a tradition that's been on one of the longest running dramas on television for 60 years. I mean, I grew up watching that show. I remember when I was a little boy and my mother was watching the show and there was Luke and Laura, there was a rape scene on the show. And I was like, I couldn't believe I was watching this on TV. And that was, I was like 13, and here I am, 43 years later, I'm working side by side with the actress that played Laura on the show. And I got to kind of pinch myself and go, Billy, this is the dream come true, right? You had a dream. You wanted to be an actor. Well, here you are, you're on set. And I had to stop and go, why are you downplaying this? Be proud of it. This is you had a dream and you made the dream a reality. And it was a great, for me, not having done it in a while, I started second guessing myself, doubting myself, and it was a big confidence boost. Like the first audition that I got, I booked that part. So I know what I teach works. I know my course on self-tapes, when it comes out, you definitely, if you're an actor, you definitely want to watch that course, because it's really going to help you. How, if you will go back to a podcast I did about self-tapes, the art of self-tapes, you can go back and listen to that episode. And there's so much great information. But in the digital course, I talk about lighting and I do a walkthrough, and I really guide you through the whole self-tape process. So I highly recommend that you get the digital course when it comes out. And it's just been a real wake-up call, one that, don't listen to the voice, the little noise in your head that's going to tell you, you're not good, you're this, that. It's just noise. You got to guard the gates of your mind and know that you were created a masterpiece, and this talent was given to you. And it wasn't given to you if you couldn't achieve the goal. So the goal it's there. You can achieve it if you believe it and you go after it like you friggin' mean it with a vengeance. You can make the dream a reality. I'm living proof that, the dream comes true. Okay. I'm the kid who came out to Hollywood at 18 with $200 in my pocket, a one-way ticket, didn't know a soul out here. And I've been a working actor ever since. Okay. So one of the things, that I found during this whole auditioning process was, one, I really didn't care. When I auditioned for this thing, I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I really want this thing. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. I'm not. So, if you can free yourself up and just do it for the work and to play and to have some fun and create a character and not trying to get the part. I already got the part. It's just me having fun. I'm going to, put the wardrobe on, I'm going to frame it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to shoot it, and I'm going to have some fun, and I'm going to let it go. And I truly believe that's why I got that part, I wasn't desperate for it. I wasn't like, I need this, I want this. It's really about letting it go and doing your best work and having fun. And that's what you should be doing on any one of your auditions. You don't want to go in there trying to get anything or desperation. They can smell that a mile away. But if you truly go play and have fun, then they're going to have fun watching you. I mean, that's truly the secret. I mean, that's why they call it, players in the theater. It's playtime, right? So I want you to play, have fun. You love acting. Well, just when you get a piece of material, you want to play and you want to be present, right? And you want to create a character and you want to make all those choices and you want to have fun, because when you're having fun, the audience is having fun. That casting director is having fun. So one is really about being prepared. Okay. You have to be working on your craft right now, because all your preparation is going to come an opportunity, an audition is going to come up and you're going to be ready. And it's when that preparation meets that opportunity is when you get lucky and you land a show. And now I'm on a show and I'm grateful and I'm learning a lot being on the show. And the biggest lesson is, you want to be 150%. You want to be ready to go. And that means, really going to work. And for me, I had to really kind of check myself, because I like to drink coffee in the morning, right? And I found that, I would drink a couple of cups of coffee, and that does not work when you're working on a TV show. I know it doesn't work for me. So you want to make sure that you never over caffeinated when you show up to a set. Because what happens is when you have all that caffeine in your body, and then the excitement kicks in, the adrenaline kicks in, it's possible for you to redline. Okay. So if you're tired, right, and you don't drink that coffee, and then that adrenaline kicks in, then you're going to be at the perfect level. Okay. So be aware you don't want to be taking too much caffeine. I mean, I switched to tea. And, I cut out stuff of my life that, I felt was holding me back, like alcohol, coming home, maybe wanting to have a glass of wine or having a cocktail after work, after a long day's work. Well, that doesn't work either. You want to have a clear mind. Okay. So you want to cut out all that stuff, that negative stuff in your life. And you'll be surprised once you start cutting out all that negative stuff, some really good stuff starts happening, especially if you have a clear channel to manifest all those things that you want. Since my channel is clear, I've noticed that so many beautiful things are coming to fruition. Those dreams, those things that I wrote down on that list, they're all coming to fruition, every one of them. So, maybe you want to check and look at your list or your goals for, 2023. And maybe you got derailed, right? Maybe you kind of fell off the tracks. Well, maybe it's time to get back on the tracks. Maybe it's time to look at some of those bad habits you picked up and cut them out and replace them with some good habits. Maybe you're spending too much time on your phone looking at TikTok videos or Instagram or whatever. Maybe you need to flip that phone around and start filming yourself and working on your craft. So there's no excuses. There's tons of free stuff out there. Go look at my podcast. I mean, there's 77 episodes right now, and it's a wealth of information, and I created it for you. So take advantage of it. Go listen to every one of those episodes. Every one of those episodes, they're dropping golden nuggets for you to make your dream a reality and get you where you want to go further, faster. Success leaves clues. I've had very successful people leaving breadcrumbs for you out there, you listeners out there. So once again, I'm so grateful from the bottom of my heart. I'm grateful for you for being out there and listening and making the podcast, a top 2% podcast. Tell your friends, I want to be number one. Okay. 2% is good, but I want to be number one. So please share, leave a review on Apple Podcasts, subscribe to my YouTube channel called Inside the Manhattan Actor Studio. And, if you know anybody who wants to be a model, my wife, she runs the Manhattan Model Studio and she's doing amazing work. And, she really, does what I do. I help guide actors into this business, but she does it for models. So if you know anybody who wants to be a model, I highly recommend my wife, Manhattan Model Studios. You should listen to her podcast that she did with me on the Hollywood Dreammaker podcast. Just look for Diana Gallo. And I just want to, once again, thank you. I'm full of gratitude. Watch your thoughts. You really have to guard the gates of your mind. See your dream, visualize it, and then go after it like you friggin' mean it. Don't let anything stop you. Don't listen to the naysayers. Believe in yourself. And go after your dream like you mean it, and it will come true. Okay. I look forward to seeing you in Hollywood. Take care. Peace.